Welcome to the Connect Secure Administration and Maintenance e-learning video. In this session, we will review Resource Profile Configuration. A resource profile contains all the resource policies, role assignments, and end-user bookmarks required to provide access to an individual resource. Resource profiles simplify resource configuration by consolidating the relevant settings for individual resources into a single page within the administrative console. The first step to simplifying resource configuration is creating a new web resource profile. When you define a resource profile, you must specify the individual resource you want to configure. The type of profile that you choose is dependent on the type of resource you want to configure. Referencing the image, on the same page, you define an auto policy. When you define a resource profile, you generally create auto policies that establish the access requirements and other settings for the specified resource. The most common type of auto policy enables access to the primary resource defined in the profile. Other policy types, such as compression and caching auto policies, fine-tune how Pulse Connect Secure handles the data that passes to and from the specified resource. Within a resource profile, you can assign user roles to the profile. When you assign user roles to a resource profile, the roles inherit all of the auto policies and bookmarks defined in the resource profile. When you create a resource profile, Pulse Connect Secure generally creates a bookmark that links to the profile's primary resource. Optionally, you can also create additional bookmarks that link to various sites within the primary resource's domain. When you create bookmarks, you can assign them to one or many user roles, thereby controlling which bookmarks users see when they sign into the Pulse Connect Secure end-user console. Resource profiles provide ease of configuration, having all options located under one menu. You can assign them to multiple roles, and they allow the same flexibility with prioritization and configuration of options as provided by resource policies. Resource profiles are the preferred method of configuration to create bookmarks and resources. Resource profile templates enable you to configure settings for specific applications. When you use this method, you choose a specific application. Then, Pulse Connect Secure pre-populates a variety of values for you based on your chosen application and prompts you to configure additional settings as necessary. Pulse Connect Secure provides resource profile templates for the following third-party applications: hosted Java applets, Citrix, Lotus Notes, Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft SharePoint, and NetBIOS file browsing. Let's take a look at an example template. The sample configuration settings shown permit user access to an Exchange server configured for Outlook web access, which enables users to check their mail using an internet browser. To permit this access using web profiles, you create a new profile and choose Microsoft OWA 2013 as the application type. Define the base URL as a URL to Outlook web access for the Exchange server. The next step is to configure the auto policies for Outlook web access. Notice that several auto policies specific to Outlook web access are presented on the image. You can streamline the performance of the profile further by setting up caching, compression, and SSO policies. Using resource profiles can simplify the configuration of complicated applications such as Outlook web access. If you configure Outlook web access Without using a profile template, you must configure each resource policy separately. You might not even know which policies you need to configure. Using a profile template, you can more easily understand what is required to properly configure access to your application. So how do you decide between resource policies or resource profiles? We suggest using resource profiles rather than resource policies for a number of reasons that make initial configuration and ongoing support easier. When defining a web or file bookmark, the URL you define for the bookmark automatically populates as a supporting resource, which means the accuracy of the bookmark URL is reflected in the resource. Because you can assign a resource profile to many roles, you can now easily have a single bookmark appear in multiple roles. Before resource profiles were available, you needed to create roles to provide for common bookmarks in which users could be mapped, or to create the same bookmark multiple times in many roles. This process could lead to inconsistencies and configuration errors. The capability to reorder resources provides the same flexibility with prioritization and configuration of options as provided by resource policies. Finally, the capability to adjust certain options for resources without affecting other resources allows for greater customization. This concludes this Connect Secure Administration and Maintenance e-learning video. Please proceed to the next video in this series. For any questions, contact education@pulsesecure.net.